Hi, and welcome to the pilot episode of Two Snobs in a Bottle. My name is Alex, and as you'll find with me as always is my partner Kevin. We're going to be starting off a little inauspiciously, Kevin, with our review of Dark Tower, the adaptation of a much beloved book series by Stephen King. This was simply not a good movie.
This was not.
It stars Tom Taylor, who, if you're unfamiliar with who that is, you're not alone.
No.
He stars as Jake, the child who this movie kind of centers around. It also features performances by Idris Elba and Matthew McConaughey,
Yes.
respectively, as the gunslinger and the man in black. Let's talk about what this movie did right. This movie did so much wrong. Let's get what it did right out of the way.
Okay, first of all, let's just say this. Idris Elba and McConaughey were good. I'll say Elba, in fact, was fantastic. He was great.
Idris did a terrific job with not much to go.
I agree. The dialogue was sloppy, and he didn't have much to go on, but he was able to, because he's a good actor, to actually embody the role of the gunslinger. I think that is a character I'm interested in.
I think he was perfectly cast, and saying that the dialogue was sloppy, I think, is doing a discredit to things that are sloppy.
Perhaps.
But I think it was made up on the fly, and it was an absolute discredit to the source material. And this is coming from someone who's unfamiliar with the source material.
I have no allegiance to this.
I've never read these books. If this was a book series that I loved, I would probably hate this movie even more than I do. And I really don't like this movie.
Let's stay on the positive. McConaughey.
Let's stay on the positive.
Matthew
McConaughey, I think, did his best.
He did.
With a really one-dimensional character. There is nothing to his character. It is spelled out for you in the worst example of exposition that I've seen in quite a while, what his motivation was. And it was so poorly done that when you and I were discussing this movie in the lead-up to doing this review, you had missed.
I was confused.
Right, you had missed his entire reason for being.
McConaughey, to his credit, does what he can with the role. He's charismatic. He's Matthew McConaughey. The way he moves and the way he is, especially in the last recent years.
Yes.
He's very good. We know he's a good actor. The fact that this role, I think, limited him so much.
Oh, and his role was not all right.
It was not indeed. In fact, those are the high points, let's just say.
The high points are all pretty low.
Even those are kind of hitting like the mid-range.
And honestly, look, Jake, Tom Taylor.
Yeah.
Describe his emotional range, if you would.
He's kind of macro-emoting. Sad, happy, confused.
But how is it macro-emoting when at the same time, these basic emotions are so over the top.
I know.
As to be silly. And the product placement was in your face. There is a scene, I don't want to give anything away. It's an advertisement in the middle of the movie. If for some reason that offends your sensibilities, skip forward about 10 seconds, but there's a Coke scene in the middle of it where they hand a Coke to Idris Elba.
Yeah, that was heavy-handed. I mean, it was just...
At best.
That's a compliment, in fact, yes.
And there's a scene where there's a huge sign for Verizon in the background, and it is exactly where your attention draws.
Yeah.
I mean, could they not find funding for this film outside of these companies?
The source material is rich. We're talking about universe building, parallel universe building, in fact.
And yet, this movie comes in at only an hour and 35 minutes.
Staggering 1:30.
Yes.
An hour and 35 minutes, yes.
And at 95 minutes, I remember going into this film. It's a huge series. When you've broken individual books before into multiple films, I really didn't know how they were going to do it and keep it that short. And I left the theater thinking this movie could have been about a strong 50 minutes.
They could have trimmed some fat on this, right. I know. I don't know how that's possible.
It should have been lean. It should have been punchy, and everything should have landed. You know what didn't land? A single joke.
I know. I was laughing at the film.
Not one joke. And there were plenty of intended moments of levity.
Plenty of stabs.
And there was nothing. There were children in my theater who were silent. When you can't make a 6 or 7-year-old laugh, you have failed. You have made a bad scene, and the correct response to that is not to say, hey, let's sit down and explain everything. Go back and rewrite the scene.
I agree. I agree entirely.
And they didn't do it, and you know what? The movie suffers all the more for it.
Let me touch on this. Stephen King is known for writing, fairly
Sweeping.
horror-driven,
Yes.
kind of ideas. Here's the horror aspect that I completely couldn't understand. Why is nothing in this film dramatic or horrifying?
There were plenty of things that were horrifying,
Only to your sensibilities.
but they mostly came from Tom Taylor. And this is a young man who I'm sure is a good actor, because you don't get cast in a movie like this if you're not.
One would hope.
But Ron Howard has made a lot of missteps as of late.
Yes, he has.
And this is amongst them. I mean, I can't even say it's chief among them.
No, it's just
but
it's in
among
there.
them.
It's just in there.
So let's get to grades. Kevin, give me your grade. Honestly, I know there were moments where you were entertained by this film. So what is your honest opinion? Give me a letter grade.
I'm going to throw out a D. And the reason I'm going to say that is because of this. Look, there's a possibility that you could be entertained by this movie.
You
But
probably shouldn't be.
The point of fact is, I don't know who this movie was made for. Fans are going to be mad.
Yep.
Non-fans are going to be disinterested.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a rousing action film. It's not a sweeping epic of any sort.
No.
The acting is substandard. So I just don't know where you're going to turn on this. So fundamentally, it's not an F because it doesn't fail on every level. Idris Elba is quite watchable. McConaughey is quite watchable. What else are we left with? But kind of a muddled, almost embarrassingly edited film.
Now, I'm going to throw out a letter grade that doesn't actually exist.
Oh.
I'm giving this movie an F+. Because this movie would get a solid F. If not an F-. If not for the performances of Matthew McConaughey and Idris Elba. I cannot go with you that the movie was poorly acted. Again, outside of the character of Jake, which was horrible.
Oh, God.
It was horrible, and I wish him all the best in future endeavors. But
Sure.
this is not it. And if not for them, this is a solid F film. But I give it an F+.
Don't watch this film.
Don't support these movies. Don't continue to give Hollywood credit for doing them. Just don't watch it in any format, not in theaters, not as a rental.
Just don't watch it. It's not worth the time invested.
And it's such a small time investment, it's still not worth it. But either way, this has been Two Snobs in a Bottle. Forgive us a couple of hiccups here as we go along. If you enjoyed what it is that we were doing, go ahead and hit like, share, and subscribe to our channel to stay up to date on everything that we're doing. In the meantime, make sure to always keep those glasses full. And
Bottoms up.
exactly.